Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the daily discussion for the 8th of October 2014. If you have any ideas for topics, you can leave them in the comments below, or just use the links in the description to contact me. My name is Tuskeh, and today we shall be discussing an email I was sent by a fellow named Martin. I will not attempt to pronounce his surname because I will embarrass myself. He said, since your last video was about leveling, I was wondering what your favourite zone to level in is. And not an expansion as a whole, but more a zone that made you happy to finally do quests and level in. It could be a top 10 or top 5 of your choice, and even though a top 10 list isn't really a discussion, I think it could be interesting. I personally think it would be fun and interesting to hear you pick a zone and explain why it was your pick. Alright, I think that's a good idea. I'm not a big fan of top 10s, but you know, they're all the rage these days, and part of me has kind of wanted to make one. So there we go, let's give it a shot. So, here are my top 10 zones to level in. Number 10, Silverpine Forest. Now, Silverpine Forest, I think, is a really good starter zone. It comes just after Tirisfal Glades for the Forsaken player, and the story of it is really good. The Tirisfal Glades storyline isn't amazing, but it kind of preps you for Silverpine, and it really gets Forsaken players into the Horde story at a high pace, and it progresses Sylvanas Windrunner's personal story quite a lot. And although Sylvanas isn't my favourite lore character, I think that her motivations are really well explained with the Valkyr in Silverpine Forest, and how she requires them, otherwise her people will start dying out. And the Forsaken player gets to first meet the Orcs, and they get to first meet Garrosh, the leader of the Horde, at least during Cataclysm, in that storyline, and they get to start helping the Orcs out and helping the Forsaken, and basically just take over Silverpine Forest. It becomes one great big wall that ends in a dungeon, and although I'm not a big fan of ending stories in dungeons, there wasn't that much of a story in Shadowfang Keep's dungeon, so I think that it's really well put together. And you even get to go to Gilneas as well, which is really cool. I think that Silverpine Forest is a very well put together zone. The quests are quite interesting, although they're fairly cut and paste, and I think the story is what really elevates it above other zones. So number 10, Silverpine Forest. Number 9, Bashir. Now, this is probably going to be a bit controversial, but I really like Bashir. It's been a while since I've leveled there, though, because I'll talk about that a little bit later. But Bashir, I think, is an absolutely gorgeous zone. That is one of the main reasons I love going to Bashir. The story is good. It feels very dark and gloomy, and it's all about trying to survive and basically get out of the zone once you get stuck down there. But I think that the ambience of Bashir is what really sets it apart from everything else. The whole underwater feel is done really, really well. I'm a little bit of a coward when it comes to things like horror games. I mean, like I said last video, I've been playing Alien Isolation, and that game is bloody terrifying, and I'm a terrible coward when it comes to things like that. But Bashir is a zone that genuinely scares me. And when I go there, I'm always like, oh god, is there a whale shark nearby? Even though I know where whale sharks spawns and where they go around and what their patrols are, I always think, oh god, if I look behind me, there might be something horrible and terrible, and it's scary, and I really think that they pulled it off really well. The music is magnificent, the whole ambience of the place is really well done, and it really feels like you're going into an unexplored, long lost part of Azeroth when you go down there, and I think that if you haven't done it, you really should. It's not so great in terms of gameplay, because it's the whole underwater combat thing. There isn't really too much Blizzard can do about that, and there are some annoyances to it in that regard, which is why it's not lower down on the list, but I think the ambience and the story really sets it apart from other zones, so definitely I would suggest Bashir. Number 8, the Jade Forest. So, the first zone of Pandaria. I think it's perhaps the best in all of Pandaria. You crash land there, you're just screwing everything over, you're having a massive war against the Horde or against the Alliance, depending on your faction, and you just rip these Pandarians' lives apart. You really do. You just get so focused on the race war, as Taranzu calls it, that you screw everything up, to the point of corrupting the land and unleashing the Shah of Doubt, which is really quite big. That whole scene where Yulon circles around the destroyed Jade statue and basically forgives you and says, you know, you have to make up for this, but we will forgive you, and you are necessary for this. It really touched me, and I felt really bad for a lot of the Pandaren in the Jade Forest, because you just really screw everything over. You really do. And there are some really great parts of it because the Pandaren are so innocent in it. And there are some really great touches to it. Like when you go to, I'm trying to remember the name of, Dawn's Blossom, that's it. The first neutral village you visit, at least as the Horde player. You go there and it's really great because if you go there and you're a Tauren, you get surrounded by these children and they just all go, oh, are you a Yongol? I heard that Yongol are really bad. Or if you go there as a troll, they'll say things like, oh, are you the boogeyman? Things like that, because that's what trolls are. They're boogeymen to the Pandaren. And there, and you just think, oh god, what have we done? We've completely ruined these people's lives. We've just destroyed their land. And it only gets worse from there. And I think that it's a magnificent start to the Pandaria storyline. And the only part of it that eclipses the whole Jade Forest experience for me was the Battle of Stoneplow. I just want to mention that quickly. That cinematic was the best cinematic in all of World of Warcraft, in my opinion. Absolutely magnificent. So that's the Jade Forest, number 8. Number 7, Hellfire Peninsula. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the questing in Burning Crusade. The quests are okay. They are some of the oldest, if not the oldest, in the game at the moment, so that definitely has that against them. And the quests in Hellfire Peninsula aren't amazing. In fact, I think they're quite bad, in all honesty. But there are two things that set Hellfire Peninsula above so many other zones, and I don't know if everyone who is watching this video has had this experience, but first of all, Hellfire Peninsula looks awesome, and it was a magnificent change from the different aesthetics from vanilla World of Warcraft, and really from any other place in the game. Hellfire Peninsula looks very unique, and I love that fact. But there is one moment, the moment of the Burning Crusade, that everyone who went there will probably remember, and if you had your sound and music on, it was really one of the best moments in World of Warcraft. You step through the dark portal, you see the battle in front of you, and there's that musical cue, and it is absolutely breathtaking. And every single time I go to Outland on a new alt, I will listen to that music cue, and it's just magnificent. I think it's just the best little mini moment in World of Warcraft, just entering Hellfire Peninsula and being like, oh shit, I'm on a different planet. And that's exactly what that moment with the musical cue tells you. You are really, really in over your head by going here. The Legion is here, and you are screwed. That's what that musical moment says, and I think it is brilliant. And for that reason, Hellfire Peninsula is number 7 on my list. Number 6, Deepholm. Now, Deepholm isn't the best in terms of quest design. I think the quest design is okay. It requires you moving around a lot, and it's kind of all over the place, but you can do them in any kind of order, which I think is pretty cool. But Deepholm's story is really good. I love the whole saving the world pillar and trying to ally with the Stone Mother, and finally the big confrontation with High Priestess Lorthuna at the world pillar. I think that was really good. I think they should have done more with Lorthuna and had her be more of an antagonist from the start of the zone, but that's not why I love Deepholm. Now, I love Deepholm because of its art style. I think it is so unique, the whole kind of being in the realm of Earth. It had so much time dedicated to it by Blizzard, and it's just amazing. Just the whole rocky floating spires, the wispy kind of glowing gems that float around the place, the stone drakes, the stone trogs, the stone dwarves. For everything being stone, it's really quite diverse and very colourful, and I think that it really kind of catches that Hellfire Peninsula vibe of, this is a completely different place. This is not Azeroth, this is an elemental plane, and I think that's really, really cool. So that's why Deepholm is number 6. Number 5, Icecrown. Now, I did say in my previous leveling video that I hated the Wrath of the Lich King quest line, which is true. I don't like the quest in Wrath of the Lich King, but Icecrown is the exception because of the ambience. Going to Icecrown is amazing because it is completely full of dread. There is the whole feeling of fighting against an unknowably strong enemy. It's as if all hope is lost. There is just a massive amount of dread in Icecrown. You have to kill so many dying soldiers, you have to burn corpses, you have to fight so many Scourge, and you just think, this whole zone is crawling with the Scourge. This is completely 100% Lich Kinged. It is just so dark and so dead, and its art style is incredible. It really feels like this is what the world will look like if the Lich King wins. The music is absolutely full of dread and despair and malice, and it's just brilliant in that regard. And I think my favourite part of it is the two gunships. The Horde and the Alliance cannot go onto the ground without being slaughtered, really. There are a couple of exceptions, but really, they have to stay in the air. They can't even touch ground. And I think that's such a great example of just how dangerous Icecrown really is. And for that reason, it is number 5 on my list. Number 4, the Hinterlands. Now, this may be a surprise to some people, but I love the Hinterlands storyline. Why? Well, think about it for a moment and it might not surprise you so much. It's almost 100% about trolls. The zone was hugely revamped in the Cataclysm, and the story focuses almost entirely on trolls, which I love. It allows us to explore their dark heritage and their lowers quite a bit. And for that reason, I think it's brilliant. I love the whole Shadra storyline where you lure her out with the different artifacts, and I love attacking Jintha Alor and putting down the Vile Branch tribe as the Raven Tusk tribe, and really just seeing the expansion of everything, and it really is just a zone full of trolls. And for that reason, I love going there. I really do. I think it's brilliant. And I love killing the dwarves there because screw you, dwarves, you're trying to kill my trolls. So, yeah. Hinterlands, really great, full of trolls, that's why I love it. I mean, it also helps that it looks really nice, and it's a really nice foresty zone, and I think that it's just a really lovely looking place, and it's got nice music, and it really feels tucked away from the problems of the world, although the Forsaken are there, which will probably be a problem in the future. So, there we go. Number 4, the Hinterlands. Number 3, Mount Hyjal. Now, I said earlier that I love Bashir, and that it is a brilliant looking zone, and that I love questing there. And that's true. I do love questing in Bashir, even though it scares the hell out of me. The only problem? I love questing in Mount Hyjal more. I always end up doing the Mount Hyjal quest chain. Pretty much always. It's so well paced, the whole place looks wonderful, it really feels like a war zone between the forces of the Twilight's Hammer, of Ragnaros, Deathwing, and all of them up against the Guardians of Hyjal. The story is really well paced, and you deal with some pretty serious lore characters. I mean, you deal with Jared Shadowsong, Ysera, Cenarius, Malfurion, Stormrage, a lot of elven characters that pretty much everyone knows, really, and it makes great use of phasing, especially the whole Inferno being extinguished. I think that's brilliant. And although the start is a tiny bit weak, I think that it ends up being a great conclusion, and you go all the way down the mountain, you infiltrate the Twilight's Hammer, you kill demons, you kill cultists, you kill dragons, you kill Twilight dragons, you crush hatcheries, you kill elemental servants, you help sedate Baron Geddon, you awaken all the different ancients, and then you fight and battle with them, and it all ends with a great big battle against Ragnaros with Cenarius, Hamel, Rune Totem, and Malfurion helping you. And I think that that is a really great conclusion. The whole battle against Ragnaros, forcing him back into the Firelands and stopping the attack against Hyjal is really cool. I think that's just a brilliant end to a zone, and that it's really well done. So for that reason, Mount Hyjal, number 3 on my list. Number 2, the Western Plaguelands. So this kind of picks up where Tirisfal and Silverpine's story left off, and the battle for Anderhall is really great. And the Kul Tiras storyline where he forsakes the Horde and Sylvanas to let Thessarion and the Alliance pull back and retreat, and then finally getting kidnapped away into the bowels of the Undercity by Sylvanas, I think that that's a really interesting storyline, and it really shows that Sylvanas is kind of going off the deep end, really. But that's not the whole reason why I love the Western Plaguelands so much. There is one particular character in the Western Plaguelands that I adore with all of my heart. He is my favourite character in all of World of Warcraft, and he is my favourite troll. He's called Zenkiki, and he is a druid. Perhaps the worst druid in the history of World of Warcraft. If you have not done this quest line, it is absolutely hilarious, especially when you do it for the first time because you're not expecting it. So, you go and you help the Cenarian Circle rebuild the Plaguelands, and at one point you have a master druid basically say, my apprentice Zenkiki needs training. He's not the best druid out there, and I think, you know, you're a really great adventurer and you could help him, so go and kill some wildlife with him. So you bring him with you, and he's really nice, he's so sweet, and he's really cute, and he just goes, I will help you, I'll do whatever I can to help you. And so he spams Wrath at his enemies, and misses every single one. He constantly misses, all of the time. Like, the chance for him to hit is really low, but what's funny is that if he does, he actually can almost one-shot some enemies, but he misses 99% of all of his attacks, so he's kind of useless. But every now and then, Zenkiki will transform to help you out, so he can go into bear form, cat form, moonkin form, or sea lion form. Yeah, sea lion form. So if he goes into bear form, he'll say, I'll tank for you, I'll keep all the enemies on me, and then he just kind of flails going, no! Attack me! Attack me! No, don't do that! No, attack me! Of course it doesn't work, he just kind of sits there flailing, and then he's like, oops, sorry. And if he transforms into a cat, he starts using Feral Leap to pounce around, but he doesn't target anyone, he just goes in circles. He just pounces all over the place going, Rawr, pounce! I got you now! And he fails every single time. He just doesn't hit anything, he's just bouncing all over the place, and then he goes back to being troll form. If he goes into Moonkin form, he spams Moonfire, like really hard, like he fires 4 or 5 Moonfire at once on himself. And he just sits there going, ow, 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 and then he's at 10% health, and then he stops. And he's like, I didn't do that right, hang on. He does that, but my favorite one is the sea lion form, where he just goes, "Here comes the pain!" And then he transforms into a sea lion and he's just on his back going, oops. Sorry. I'm very embarrassed about this. I didn't mean to do this. Could you give me a hand? You don't actually need to give him a hand, but eventually he transforms back into a troll. And he doesn't really help you all that time. So you finish that quest, and then the druid's like, he wasn't very helpful. Maybe he can help hit some birds in the air to help you kill them. So you go up to a big hill, and you poke him, and he fires wrath up at these birds to get their attention. He misses every single time, and you kill them. And then you go back and report into his druid trainer, and she's like, God, he must be useful for something. I'll figure out something. And then you go and do the rest of the Plaguelands storyline, and you come back eventually, and the druid contacts you, and she's like, I've got it! I know exactly what he can do. There are some corrupted bears down in this camp of cultists. Take him with you and let him heal them. Why? Because heals can't miss! And then she's just like, I've got it! Heals can't miss! Take him with you! And then you go with him, and he wanders after you, and he heals up these bears, and he saves their lives. And he's like, yeah, I can do this! I can actually do this! I'm a healer! And then you take him back, and it's all great, and there's a tiny little bit of phasing, where he's just wandering around the area that you first found him in, training, but this time, he's in his final form. Tree of Life form, and he's just wandering around healing things. And he's like, I found it! I found my calling! And that's it. And that's just absolutely brilliant. And for that reason, the Western Plaguelands is a great, fantastic zone. My favourite zone for questing, bar one. Now, we've gone over a whole bunch of different zones, their art styles, their ambience, their quest design, their stories, and their characters. And I love a lot of them. I really love Zenkiki and the Western Plaguelands. But there is one zone that trumps them all. It's a zone that is not a huge story involving massive characters. You don't change the world by going there. You don't do massive things. But it is the definitive example of how to do great quest design. Everything in this zone, all of the quests are perfectly put together, and it all comes together in the greatest conclusion in any quest zone I've ever seen. Number one is the Burning Steps. Now, that may surprise quite a few people, because the Burning Steps are just kind of out of the way. It's just this old little storyline that was revamped in Cataclysm, and that's where all of this great storytelling and quest design came from. But I think it is the definitive example of how to do a quest chain. Everything is connected, and no quest is redundant. Let me take you through it, so you'd see exactly what I mean. So you first go to the Burning Steps via the Warchief's command board, or through breadcrumb quests in other zones, and you meet an orc called Ariok. And he's like, okay, me and my father want to take down the Blackrock clan. I need your help. So you start by gathering dragon whelplings that Ariok will later use to convince a red dragon to help him to fight the Blackrock clan with you. You gather mud and warg hides that you later use in another quest to create a disguise that helps you infiltrate the Blackrock clan. Then you go to a goblin called Gorziki Wild Eyes to gather three things. Sleeping sand that you will use later on Flamekin to put them to sleep to fool someone, fell cider that you will later on use to poison meat and poison soldiers, and a clear glass orb that you will later on use to replace a real one with. You then go to Chisel Grip and meet with Eitrig and help the local golems become better at fighting. During the final battle, they'll surround the Blackrock clan and keep them from running away for you with their upgraded abilities that you help them get by fighting them. You then create a costume and infiltrate the Blackrock clan, causing mayhem as you do. You stab people, you kill officers, and at the same time you gain the trust of the people around you, and you make friends with Thorg Izog, who is one of the big three, one of the leaders of the Blackrock clan, a captain, and he ends up trusting you after you prove to be really good in combat and that you can discipline his soldiers. And then after that you go back to Eitrig and help gather the Flamekin to combine with the Sleeping Sand, warg meat to be poisoned by the Fell Cider, and some obsidian ash from elementals to use on the red dragon that you'll bargain with to make it look like a black dragon. You then go to this red dragon and hand him the whelps in return for his help in destroying the Blackrock clan later on. You hand him the whelps and he's like, good, you've held up your part of the bargain, I'll hold up mine. You then go back undercover into the Blackrock's main stronghold and you deliver the bag of sleeping flamekin, which have been put to sleep with the sleeping sand, to Niralak, a dragon lord, who doesn't really know what to do with them. He's like, oh yeah, these are the imps we need. Just put them over there. Why are they asleep? I don't know demons, just leave them. And so they're planted there. You also deliver poisoned warg flanks to Thorgizog to poison his men, and he's like, my favorite soldier has come through in a crisis, and he's brought us meat for everyone, and he feeds it to all of his men, and ends up poisoning them. You then deliver the clear glass orb to High Warlock Zelun to screw up the summoning ritual. He intends to summon a pit lord and use the orb that he was expecting to control it, but with this clear glass orb, he won't be able to. And then you return to Flamecrest and watch everything happen. And it's absolutely brilliant. Thorg Izog is poisoned, he's got terrible, terrible diarrhea, and his soldiers can't fight. Dragon Lord Niralak has been basically burned to a crisp by the Flamekin, and his soldiers are in disarray. And High Warlock Zealand says, well, none of that matters, we have a Pit Lord on our side. He summons the Pit Lord, tries to control it with a clear glass orb, and it just goes berserk and starts killing everyone. And then all of the orcs are like, oh shit, everything's falling apart. Quick, run towards our black dragon allies, and you swoop in on a red dragon that's made to look like a black dragon so it can get close. You use the ash to make it look black, and then you just decimate the army. The panicking army of the Blackrock clan, you completely destroy it. And then finally, to finish it all off, you head into the Blackrock hovels in their hold and take down the big three. Ariok's at your side, and you have 3 boss battles. You kill Thorgizog, you kill Zealund, and you kill Niralak, and you completely and utterly dismantle the Blackrock clan. So from the very start, you meet the character that you end it with. You gather whelplings, you gather mud, warg hides, you gather all of the different stuff you need, and it is all used. There are some side quests that are just side quests, but really there is no main story quest there that is wasted in terms of its potential. You use everything. Absolutely everything is put together magnificently, and I think it makes it the best questing zone ever, and that's my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with me, but I think the Burning Steppes is the best questing zone in all of World of Warcraft, because it is the quintessential example of what a quest chain should be, and it is perfectly put together. Absolutely perfectly put together, and for that reason, the Burning Steppes is #1 on my list. So, I'd like to hear what you guys think. I'd like to hear what you folks agree, disagree with, and what your favourite questing zones are in World of Warcraft down in the comments below, so let me know what you think. That's it for today's daily discussion. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you have suggestions for topics or you wish to send me your questions to answer on the daily discussion, you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. Today's piece of music will be the Alliance and Horde fire poles from Midsummer. Now, it's starting to get a bit chilly out there in the real world, at least where I am anyway. It's starting to really get into autumn, and things are getting pretty chilly, so I thought, why not think back to summer just a little bit and enjoy Midsummer together. Now, if you don't know where this music's from, it plays when you're at the Midsummer fire poles that you use to increase your experience gained, and you just dance and you spin around these fire poles. But have you ever stopped to really listen to the music? I haven't, and when I found these pieces, I was like, wow, this is really cool, this is lovely music. And just imagine that during Midsummer, the Alliance and the Horde just calm down a little bit. The wars just aren't that big of a deal. People celebrate together, people enjoy Midsummer, they celebrate the spirits of the bonfires, and they work together as a horde or as an alliance to just enjoy themselves and relax from all the horrible things that are going on in the world. And imagine this, imagine friends and family sitting around campfires and burning big bonfires and firing off fireworks and just enjoying time together as this music plays. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck with your gaming endeavors.